So I had to go to Home Depot to pick up a few things for a couple small projects around the house. And I thought I'd take the time to look around and see what else I could find in there. What's going on, everybody? This is Lamar with MF Research, and today we're gonna take a little journey through Home Depot. Fun fact, about 20 years ago or so, I actually used to work at Home Depot part-time. And since then, I've always enjoyed taking time to walk through there, seeing what kind of cool stuff they have for future ideas, for future projects, or for solving problems that I didn't even know I had yet. This isn't one of those, let's go to Home Depot, let's see if you can build an EDC. We're not going to do that because you can do that at Home Depot with minimal difficulty. So what we're going to do instead is just take a look around, see what kind of EDC stuff they have there. It is getting into Black Friday and the holidays, so they have some kind of fun stuff there. So I just thought I'd look around and show you guys some of the stuff that I saw that caught my eye. And stay tuned to the end. I'm going to show you, out of all the stuff that I looked at in my run in Home Depot, what I actually decided to pick up. So the first place I went was some of the Husky flashlights. This first one, they had some magnetized lights that look pretty cool that you could use as shop lights and things like that and put them in different places in the house. They had a light that was a neck light, where you could put it around your neck like a necklace or something and it would shine in front of you. So they had a few shop lights in there, and on the other side of the store they actually had a display for a couple of them. The first light on the tripod I thought was really interesting. I've actually got something very similar to that at home that I use from time to time. I'm actually using it right now for this green light right here. And so I thought that was a cool alternative. The only difference is it didn't have the RGB like this one does. I also like the magnetic touchless light that they had in there. I couldn't seem to hold the phone, record, and get it to work right in the store, but as soon as I put it down, I did fix that and work on it a little better. It did have multiple mounting options on the workbench, and that was pretty cool. So you could use this probably on a table, a workbench, a desk. There's a couple places where I think it might come in handy in my house too. So maybe it might be something to pick up in the future. There was a pretty good showing of flashlights from Coast. Saw a few headlamps as well. They actually had a candy bar style flashlight that was 2,000 lumens. I might have to go back for that when I get a chance. They also had some regular flashlights that were about 1,500 lumens, so those were pretty cool as well. They had some more behind the gate, and I didn't really feel like wasting the time to get them to open that for me, but they had a few in there. One was, I think, the Coast Slayer. It looked interesting, but right now it might be cheaper on Amazon, so I did put a link to the one that I think it is there. So compare the prices to what's in the video and to what's on Amazon, and you might want to pick the one that's better if you're interested in that light. And one thing, I tried through most of the stuff, even though I'm not the best cameraman out there, to show you guys the prices as well as I'm going through these things. I missed the little keychain light that's in the middle of this display when I was in the store because I was so focused on the cob light. I like these because they're like the ones that I have, but I think they're a little better. They have an external carabiner versus the one that's built in. They have a clip, they're magnetic on the back, and there's a pack of two. And they're two different colors. And the last light, it wasn't from Coast, and I actually have something very similar in my garage that I picked up from Costco a few years back, and it just takes your normal light socket and gives you a much brighter light. One thing that is cool about it is it's motion activated, and that's an upgrade on the one that I have. I did convert mine to smart socket so I can use mine voice activated if my wife doesn't turn the light switch off. Storage and organization in EDC gear is always a thing that you got to deal with. So I was looking at some of the storage totes that they had. They had the ones that you see all over the place, the ones with the yellow lid. They had everything from the 6.5 quart ones all the way up to the 77-gallon ones. The small ones could work on a desk or something like that, or in a drawer to help organize some of the small things. And the larger ones could help if you get a lot of backpacks like me. It could help store some of that stuff. While they don't go as large in the size ranges, Husky did have some storage totes as well. They were locking and they seemed a little more robust than some of the other ones. So if you need something a little more heavy duty, that might be something you want to look at as well. I saw the Ryobi set and this seems to interlock. I've heard mixed reviews on those when I was looking for a storage solution for myself, so I didn't go with them. But if it's something that you like, it might be something to consider and take a closer look at. In the back of some of my videos, you will see what I decided to go with. We are going to cover it in more detail in the future, but just not right now. Husky entered the mini toolbox market and they have theirs. It's 2 drawers. It only comes in black and it seemed pretty popular based on how many were left. So the next thing that we saw, they weren't the cool and sexy things like the flashlights and all the fun EDC stuff that looks good on Instagram and flat lays and thumbnails and stuff like that. But these are the workhorses, the everyday things, those things that help you keep organized and keep your stuff together. And I like picking up stuff like this when I can. They had zip tie multi-packs out there, and they were cool, and they had different configurations. There were tons of different sizes and colors, so you could pretty much get whatever you needed to match if you wanted to. I did find some paracord out there. There weren't very many colors, but they did have a good selection of bundles, and they were about 50 feet a piece. They had tons of Velcro. I use Velcro everywhere. I attach it to walls, my desk, TVs, tripods, and everything else. If you were to see on the other side of this camera, there are probably at least 20 things that use Velcro right now in front of me. There's tons of stuff in there. There's different sizes. Just use your imagination. I'm sure you can find something to use some Velcro for. A little while back, I did pick up a roll of magnetic tape, and ever since then, I've been interested in incorporating some magnetic tape and magnetic disc and things like that in my EDC, and it has come out handy, especially other uses other than the pickup tools that you see all the time in other videos. So definitely like using magnets, and they have a good selection of magnetic tape, hooks, and disc in there, so take a look at that if you want to. Of course, Home Depot has tons of hand tools. I decided to look at a few that might make it into my EDC pouch in the future. The first thing I saw was a hobby knife set. I could use something like this in my model kit. I also think it would be interesting since some multi-tools nowadays tend to use hobby knives as blades. I don't see a need to carry it every day, but it would be good on those times when I go out and work on model kits at some of the meetups and stuff like that. I know there's a good contingent of people on the internet that swear by the electrician scissors, particularly the ones by Klein. I saw those too, but I saw the ones from Milwaukee first, so I did take a look at those. They also had a bunch of multi-bit screwdrivers in there. I saw the ones from Milwaukee. They also had the ones from Klein in there. I almost picked up those from Klein. I ended up picking up the stubby ratchet screwdriver from WorkPro. I did like that you could get some of the sets that had a 2-pack that had a regular size screwdriver and a stubby size, so you could put that in 2 different kits, so that was pretty cool. If you looked at my store, at least, Milwaukee had a bunch of specials, and that looked pretty cool. The only Gerber multi-tool that I've ever had is the dime, and I've not been a fan of that. But they did have the suspension NXT in there, so if you want that, you could take a look at that in there. I love these mini tape measure sets. Something you can just throw in a bag, throw in a pocket. Don't know how many times I've needed a tape measure. I've used a tape measure, especially on my wife's random projects. You're definitely gonna need a tape measure, so I'm glad to see these in here, especially the small size, so something a little stocking stuffer. I've been a huge fan of Nite Ize products for a long time, so it was cool to see some of the stuff that they had in there. First, they had tons of cable ties and attachments that were all over the place. These cam jams that were pretty cool, and they're in my save for later on my Amazon cart. They're a good way to tie things down if you're not that great in tying knots. One of the things is hooking tarps down in the truck bed. Could take just a few seconds. Probably going to pick some of those up in the near future if I don't pick them up by the end of the trip. They even had a little keychain flashlight. Not really sure if I'd pick it up, but it was there. It did come with an S-Beaner on it, so nice little cheap little flashlight if you didn't want one of the larger ones from Coast or Husky. For those that carry a lot of keys, they have tons of key solutions in there as well, so you can just go in there and go crazy and find the right setup for your keys if you want to. They did have a doohickey in there. I've always wanted to try one just to throw on my EDC to see if it's as good as people claim, especially for the price. They did have another brand of key organizing gear in there. It looks a little more heavy duty than the stuff from Nite Ize, so if you're interested, you might want to take a look at that as well and compare what Nite Ize has to, I think it was the Hillman brand or something like that. See what they look like and see which one works better for you. Some of the stuff didn't fit into a category at all, and I just like to have miscellaneous stuff in my categories just to show you some of the random stuff that's in there. I've talked about and I recommend the packable tote. I've had the nano bag forever, but this is a Home Depot version of a packable tote. It kind of looks like the Home Depot apron, so if you want something like that, you can pick up something like that. Since it is getting cold, I love a good beanie. I've got one on right now. They had a couple Milwaukee branded beanies. Not for me, but if you're interested, they did have some shirts as well. Hats are an underrated part of your EDC, and they had a few of those as well. They're not fitting this head, so I wasn't picking those up, but if you got a smaller head, this might work out for you. I run 2 fans in the garage a lot of times. I've got one set up to go right now, and they have these little small ones right now. So I'm thinking about maybe picking one of those up for my portable station that I have in the garage. So that would be good to just have a little fan. Or you could just take it with you, put it in a duffel bag or something like that. It is getting cool right now, so it might not be necessary, but it'd be something to have for later. I love portable workbenches. You can post up anywhere, set up in the garage, set up in the front driveway, set up in the backyard, set up wherever to work on a project and have stuff, and you don't have to bend down for it. My wife actually took mine for her garden, but they are pretty good to have, and it might be something you might want to pick up. And if you saw any other comments in my overrated EDC video, You saw super glue mentioned a lot, so I had to go by the super glue aisle. They had plenty of knives and utility knives in Home Depot as well. While I wouldn't get a folder or a fixed blade or anything from there, a utility knife is definitely something that I consider from Home Depot. They had the 3-packs that were cool. You could split them up and put them in different locations in the house. Put one in your car, you can give one to a buddy. Then they had a similar one in a single pack if you didn't want the 3-pack. They are very similar to the Cobalt one that I use in my garage all the time. They had this gift set with the machete and a paraframe by Gerber. Not something I would get per se, but if you know somebody that needs a machete in their life, it might be something you want to consider. I did see another beanie with the EAB light that was kind of color matching. I like that idea. I wouldn't mind having that. I'm not sure how I feel about a beanie with the Gerber brand on it. One thing that was really cool, and it stopped me for a little while, was they had the Milwaukee Fastback 2-packs in there, and they were a really good price, especially compared to when I looked online for a single. Definitely something you might want to pick up. They are beloved in the EDC community, so if that's something you want to check out, I might have to check it out one day just to see if they are as good as everybody says they are. And if you needed more choices, they had tons of utility knives, extra blades, sharpeners, all that stuff. You could stock up on those if you need them or if you're running low. I've done it a couple of times, so take a look, find a blade that meets your needs. So now that we've gone through all the stuff that I've looked at in Home Depot, let's show you what actually made it into my cart, paid for it, and brought it home. So first, I thought some of the little storage containers were cool, so I picked up 4 of the 6.5 quarts and then 1 of the 7-gallon totes, just to have around and organize some stuff in the garage. The 7-gallon has already been put to use, and it's got some stuff in the garage, particularly some of the stuff I use in the garage with a cigar when it's cold. If you saw the previous video already, you already know that I brought the mini toolbox home. It's right there, as a matter of fact. And I've been getting some good use out of it. It came right in handy and it's working exactly like I planned it to. I love my AirPod case, but I don't really like the carabiner. So I ended up deciding to get an S-beaner to replace the carabiner that came stock. I did grab one of those pocket tape measures. I've got one and some measuring tape that I keep in my bags, but I wanted one particularly to go in my little mini toolbox as well. So I threw that in the cart as well. The DeWalt was nice and small, and I didn't realize it when I picked it up because I didn't read. And it's magnetized on the back, so that's pretty cool as well. I said in the comments to almost everybody that talked about super glue that I was gonna try it and give it a shot for a little while and see what it's like in my EDC. So I picked up a 2-pack. I'm gonna put it in my EDC, give it a shot, stay tuned, and I guess about 30 days or so, we'll see what happens and see what I think about that. So that's what I picked up from Home Depot. I'm sure some of that stuff is gonna go on deeper discount for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that good stuff. It's cool for the holidays to take a look and see what they have in there. Some of that stuff they just have in there anyway. So it's always fun. Take some time on a Saturday evening and walk in Home Depot and just see what kind of cool stuff that's in there. And as always, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. I'm Lamar with MF and Research. Don't forget to check me out on TikTok and Instagram. Be sure to hit that like button. Leave me a comment with any questions. Subscribe if you want to, and I'm out.